Other relatives with important and demanding jobs were much too busy to attend more than once a year, at which time they were greeted like knights returning from the Crusades and actively encouraged to leave throughout the day lest anything unduly interfere with their work. Katherine's sister had revelled in this role for several years now, and it irked Katherine that the less Hazel showed up, the more saintly and overworked she became in everyone's minds, while the more Katherine put in appearances and made an effort to be attentive to the family, the more she was regarded as having wasted her life. It was, admittedly, slightly different on this occasion, given that half the roads were now closed on account of the cows. Everyone that had made it seemed grimly proud, as if they'd traversed a war zone. Katherine couldn't have cared less about the cattle, but she was enjoying the momentary respect her attendance seemed to have inspired. The second photo was not produced until the first had completed its circuit. It was of Katherine's father, dressed in a waxed jacket and posing awkwardly with a shotgun. "There's Nick," said Katherine's mother. "He didn't hit a thing, of course, but he enjoyed playing the part. He had all the kit, needless to say, but that was Nick. Strong on planning, poor in execution. I took that picture myself." She paused pointedly before passing it round, encouraging a few nods of sympathy from the aunts and uncles. Katherine's mother had, for as long as Katherine could remember, reliably played the sympathy card when discussing the man who had fathered her children, lingered a couple of years, and then decamped for Greece with a woman he'd met at the doctor's surgery while waiting to have his cholesterol levels checked. Katherine received 2 cards a year from her father, for Christmas and her birthday, with a third bonus card if she achieved anything noteworthy. He'd called her just once, soppy drunk and clearly in the grip of a debilitating midlife crisis, and told her always to beware of growing up to be like either of her parents. The photograph circled the table and was followed, with precision timing, by a colour snapshot of Homer, the family dog, who, never the most intelligent of animals, had leapt to his death chasing a tennis ball over a series of felled trees, impaling himself on a shattered branch and leaving Katherine, who had thrown the ball, to explain to her mother why her precious mongrel was not only dead, but in fact still needed to be prized from his branch, while her daughter remained inexplicably unharmed and unforgivably dry-eyed. The next, and as it turned out, final photograph was of Daniel, Christmas hat tipsily askew, raising a glass from his regal position behind a large roast turkey. "Ah," said Katherine's mother, "there's Daniel, look, such a darling. Did you ever meet Daniel? Oh, of course, he came to that thing a few years ago. Such a charmer. I just adored him. Poor Katherine. He's the one that got away, isn't he, dear?" "Not really," said Katherine. "No." "Still a rough subject," said Katherine's mother, smiling at Katherine in a maternal fashion, something she only ever did in public. "Daniel's doing ever so well these days, of course, unlike some, who shall remain nameless." Her gaze, morphing like the liquid figures of a digital clock, became sterner. "So easy to get stuck, isn't it?" She slid the last picture back into the folds of her purse, snapped the clasp, and returned the purse to her handbag, leaving everyone to look once briefly at Katherine, and then gaze uncomfortably at the tabletop, silent until the welcome arrival of coffee, at which point Katherine politely excused herself in order to go to the bathroom and tear a toilet roll in half. Katherine didn't like to think of herself as sad. It had a defeatist ring about it. It lacked the pizzazz of, say, rage or mania, but she had to admit that these days she was waking up sad a lot more often than she was waking up happy. What she didn't admit, and what she would never admit, was that this had anything whatsoever to do with Daniel. It wasn't every morning, the sadness, although it was, it had to be said, more mornings than would have been ideal. Weekends were worst. Workdays varied. The weather was largely inconsequential. Time in front of the mirror didn't help. She got ready in a rush, then adjusted incrementally later. She hadn't been eating well. Things were happening to her skin that she didn't like. Her gums bled onto the toothbrush. It struck her that she was becoming ugly at a grossly inopportune time.